It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott is here from Washington, D.C., from Anaheim, California. Mary Jo Foley to talk about the Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference 2011 and a whole lot more. Windows Weekly coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 217, recorded July 14th, 2011. A Baby Named Bing. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Go to Assist Express. Providing tech support in person is expensive and time-consuming, so save time and money and look like a hero to clients and colleagues with Go to Assist Express. For a free 30-day trial, visit gotoassist.com/windows. And by Carbonite. Backing up the files on your PC or Mac is safe and easy with Carbonite. For a free trial plus 2 free months with purchase, go to carbonite.com. Offer code WINDOWS. And by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly. All streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, visit netflix.com/twit. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show that covers your Microsoft needs, fulfills them, some might say, over-fulfills, others might say.
Thank you.
Deeply satisfies, some might say. And there he is, the man in charge of your satisfaction this morning, Mr. Paul Thurrott of the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com, news editor for Windows IT Pro, longtime Celtics fan,
Jeez.
and lest we forget, the author of many fine books, including the Delphi's 3 Super Bible and Windows Phone Secrets. Here he is, Paul Thurrott.
Trying to fix my video. It looks terrible.
No, it looks good. You look good. You are not in your normal base of operations there.
That's for sure.
Looks like you're in the kids' room, to be honest.
I am in Washington, D.C.
Oh. Are you meeting with Congress?
I heard that the Worldwide Partner Conference was here last year, so this is where I came. Turns out it's
and a
not the same location.
He's done it once again. Paul Thurrott, the man of mystery. But mostly the mystery is, where the hell am I?
That's right. There's where the hell am I?
And you know what? Because Paul seems to be losing it, we brought in reinforcements. Mary Jo Foley also here from allaboutmicrosoft.com, the fabulous ZDNet blog on Microsoft Watcher, Observer, and Expert. And always glad to have Mary Jo join us on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And Mary Jo is in Los Angeles for the Worldwide Partner Conference.
At least one of us is here.
Well, you didn't really get confused, did you?
No, I'm visiting friends.
Oh, good.
That was just a bit of trivia. It was here last year, I think.
Yeah. So you eschewed it this year for friendship.
Yes.
And was he correct to do so, Mary Jo Foley?
No, he missed seeing something very interesting.
Aha!
Which we're going to talk about later.
All right. Well, let's.
Damn you.
No, she's got the scoop. She's got the scoop. But I think we will start with something that actually Mary Jo proposed. And it's a story that even the chat room is all hot and bothered about, from thisismynext.com. That's the site that the former Engadget editors, Nilay Patel, Joshua Topolsky, and others started to. Apparently they've got something coming soon. Bless you.
Excuse me.
Microsoft says it will have a, quote, single ecosystem for PC, end quote, for PCs, tablets, phones, and TVs, and is Windows dead? Mary Jo, is that just an attention-grabbing headline, or do you think there is something to be said for Windows being dead?
Well, when you read their story, what they're really saying is the Windows brand dead, not Windows.
Yeah. The word Windows as a brand.
Right. The word. So they're saying they've heard from one of their contacts that by like 2014 or 2015, Microsoft is considering doing away with the Windows brand.
That may not be so far-fetched, since there aren't Windows. You know, one of the things about Windows 8 is it's kind of getting away from the windowed interface, isn't it? Unless I guess you call
It is.
tiled Windows Windows.
Right. But if you think about Microsoft, what's their most recognizable and kind of money-making brand? It's Windows.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are they going to just dump that and suddenly have some clever name like, I don't know what, Zoom?
Zune.
Bring back the
I
Zoom
agree with
brand.
I agree with the consolidation bit of it, but I don't think the Windows brand's going anywhere.
So why would they say this?
They're saying
thanks for a good
hearing
headline.
that it's in
They're quoting
discussion.
Andy Lees, right, at the Worldwide Partners Conference, which is where you are, Mary Jo. And they say Andy
Yes.
said that Redmond would eventually have a single ecosystem, as we mentioned.
Yep.
And we won't have a ecosystem for PCs, separate from that for phones or tablets. They'll all come together. Microsoft wants to provide coherence and consistency across different devices, particularly with Xbox. Well, it kind of looks that way with Windows 8. There's kind of a consistent UI.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
it's funny.
I think go ahead,
ahead.
Paul.
They don't quote Lees as saying they're thinking of ditching the brand name.
Exactly. And
No.
there will be a single system. It's going to be called Windows.
Right.
You know?
Not Zune, not Xbox, but Windows. Windows on Xbox, Windows on phone? I guess so. Our sources also tell us, now another source we don't know, that Microsoft is seriously considering ditching the Windows brand name in favor of something new when all this goes down.
Yeah, name me the last new brand that Microsoft made that took off in any appreciable way.
Well, Xbox.
Connect.
Okay, that was
Connect.
2001.
That's a good brand. No, Mary Jo's got one. Connect.
Connect. Well, okay. Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
I don't know if Connect is a
we're still
brand.
talking single-digit million units, right? I mean,
Yeah, I don't think you could walk down the street and say, what is Connect, and that the majority of people would know that it's a Microsoft product for Xbox. I think Xbox they'd know. Windows they'd for sure know.
yeah. You know, Microsoft has reorganized and rebranded their online services so many times I've lost track of it. But, you know, MSN was in there and Windows Live and Office Live. And, you know, we have Bing now. And you know, it's hard making brands that stick.
This is a typical blog post. I'm not going to diss these guys because they're good, but this is the kind of thing you say when they say it's on the table. Well, that's probably not a lie. It probably is on the table.
Yeah.
You know, Paul Thurrott as a name is probably on the table.
Oh, God, please pick Paul Thurrott.
The point is, you know, in a company, when you get together and brainstorm, kind of almost anything can be on the table. Doesn't mean it's in serious consideration.
Right.
I mean, so this doesn't need to be a false story to be a unlikely
No, I mean, I think the
scenario.
bigger story is what he says. I find Lee's comment to be very interesting because it backs up something that we talked about some months ago when we had discovered inside of Windows 8 this thing that looked a lot like Windows Phone, right? And the notion of these AppX packages and the evolution of Windows application and the application platform and all that. So that certainly bears that out. It makes sense in that
It does.
context.
And then, right. And then there's also the whole, you know, now Windows can run on ARM. So is Microsoft heading towards a phone release that actually is Windows underneath? So
I
that
would
plays
have
into
to
that
think
as
so.
well.
Yep. There's one of the things we have somewhere in the show notes for today is a rumor that Microsoft is going to allow Windows 8 to run Xbox games. I have no idea whether that's true or not, but that also speaks to this future.
Well, I could
It's
see
not
it.
so much
It
a
could-
consolidation. What do you call it? Like a merging or a melding.
There's one thing it could do, which is run XNA games. Already does, really. So that's not a big deal. But to run games designed for a PowerPC processor, how hard would that be?
Well, I'm wondering if we aren't. So I would say technologically it's probably feasible. I guess the big question is whether it makes any sense. And there's a logical part of me that says it doesn't make any sense. But I don't have any information one way or the other. And I'm not sure if this rumor has been refuted yet. But it is the type of thing you hear and you think, well, yeah, okay. I mean, I could see that. Throw an Xbox controller on a Windows PC that's powerful enough and open up that world to Windows gamers.
But then
It's
you have to
possible.
get a controller because most of these games are designed not
Well,
to
no, of
use
course,
a
of
keyboard
course.
and mouse. I don't know if that's a big
that's
market.
fine. Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know.
Can you use the same disc?
It's just a DVD.
Okay. So you could. in theory.
You know, there are newer games coming that are where they've changed the format, but it is just a DVD, so it should be theoretically possible for Windows to be updated with software that would allow DVD drives to read those formats. So I would say sure.
Okay. Wow, we're really excited now. This is exciting.
Leo, video games are fun.
This is so much fun. Sounds like the Henry Kissinger show. Let's talk with Mary Jo about the Worldwide Partner Conference. How did that
See,
go?
it sounds more boring than it is, but actually, right?
You know,
No, but the thing
that's what we
interesting
strive
about
to do here at the TWiT Network. Take an exciting, vibrant subject and make it sound
And
more
just-
boring than it actually
We'll
is.
kill it.
Kill it. Just kill it dead.
Well, no, the notion of a partner conference sounds awful, you know. But if you actually
doesn't it?
pay attention over the past several years, I mean, every year at the partner conference, there's actually at least one pretty amazing revelation. And I would have to say this year didn't disappoint in that vein. In fact, you know, you can just look at that list of stuff. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff happening. So,
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about it one by one, starting with Windows 7.
I guess it's doing okay.
Yes.
Good. Let's talk about something else. No, I'm sorry. 100 million licenses in 20 months. As we've said before, it's kind of hard to imagine it not doing well.
Actually, I think I might have written that number wrong.
That sounds low, actually. What is it?
It's 400, isn't
400
it?
would be right. 400 would be better.
million.
I was going to say, you know, that's kind of depressing, considering there's 150 million minimum PCs in the world.
Yeah, minimum.
So, how many PCs are there in the world?
400 million. How many PCs? I'd say 1.1, 1.2
Billion.
somewhere in there.
Wow! Wow! So they got a third of them
Yeah, in less than 2 years.
to upgrade. That's pretty darn good.
I think that, and I'm obviously not a math whiz. I couldn't even write 400 properly, but I believe that the run rate for Windows 7 has been pretty consistent. Because last October they had released a figure that was what, like 250 or 240 or whatever it was, and it worked out to be 20 million copies a month. And I think they've maintained that pace, I think is how this works out, if I'm not mistaken. 160 since then. 8 months, you know, 20 million each is 160.
Right.
So it's been consistent. You know, I think typically with Windows you would see a big bump in the beginning, and then, you know, it sort of slows down over time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But this one seems fairly consistent.
Okay, page 2. Windows, let's see, we just did Windows 7. How about Windows 8?
Yes. So this was the thing Paul missed by being in the wrong secret location.
Oh, is this the good thing?
This is the good thing.
Thank God.
So they dropped a little hint on day 2. They said, guess what? We've got Windows Server 8 here.
Ooh.
And we're going to show it to you.
Ooh.
And so we waited through the whole keynote. They didn't show it. And at the end, they said, okay, follow us to this room and we're going to show it. And they did a demo, and the last like 5 seconds of the demo was Windows Server 8.
And what did you see?
It was a real build running on a 16 processor server. They wouldn't let us see it, so we don't know what milestone number or whatever. But it had a new bit about hypervisor in it. There's this new feature called Hyper-V Replicate that's in Windows Server 8, and they showed that running through its paces and talked about how they're going to offer unlimited replication of workloads. So you could say take, you know, something running on your server and replicate it out into unlimited number of VMs in other places. And they showed that very briefly, and that was all they would say. They wouldn't answer any other questions about it. More at build.
We heard that a lot, you know, this week, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Build was always, everything's going to be build. Everything's happening at build.
Right. Yeah.
Which is going to be...
But it was there. It was there, and it was working, and it's real, and that was a good thing to hear and see, because there have been various rumors saying Windows Server isn't as far along as Windows Client, and maybe it would hold it back. And
Right.
I think this showed they are pretty far along too, just like Windows Client is.
I think it's safe to say that we're going to see a Windows Server 8 build at build, if you will, and that they're on the same path, I think.
Yep, I think they are too.
Yeah.
Build is a conference, right? You're not talking about the build of it.
Right. We're talking about Build.
I was confused. So maybe
in
others
September,
might feel that
Microsoft
same
is
way.
having a conference that is replacing PDC called Build for Windows 8.
Okay, I thought they were saying more when we build it. We'll tell you more about this product as soon as we actually
make it. This is a PowerPoint presentation, but soon we'll have.
All right, more at the Build conference. Got it. Now I got it.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So Build is replacing PDC.
Right.
And I'm told by the chat room, Leo, wake up. Build has been huge tech news for the past month.
It is a big deal because this is going to be the big revelation about Windows 8 and apparently Windows Server 8. We sort of talked about this in the past, but if you think about the schedule for Windows 7, I think it's fair to say we're going to see a feature complete, whatever they call it, pre-release build, a developer preview or a pre-beta or whatever, that they'll hand out to reviewers. And then, again, following the schedule.
So this is kind of WinHack meets PDC. So this replaces both PDC and WinHack.
Sure.
Because it's for hardware and software developers.
Well, and arguably it's replacing Mix in some ways as well because it's also a lot of HTML, CSS, JavaScript stuff in Windows 8.
Wow.
It's a programming bouillabaisse.
Or you might say the first place to dive deep into the future of Windows.
One might say that if one was a marketer. From Microsoft.
So that's coming up in Anaheim in September. We should, I think maybe I'm starting to think we should do something from Build.
Lovely Anaheim.
I take it you two will both be there.
Yes.
We should do a little something special, something down there.
Okay.
Yeah. September 13th through the 16th.
Maybe we could do a little live video podcast thing.
Maybe we should do a show.
A special report.
Special report. Build. So this is going to be where we see Windows 8 from the point of view of here. And by the way, haven't they been kind of rattling the cage, looking for people to really get stepping up to this. This is their bid to get you developing. This is it.
Yep.
This is it. Built.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And at the partner show this week, they didn't show anything new on client. They just re-showed the same video that they did with Julie Larson Green a couple months ago. But the one, the one little thing that slipped out was Tammy Reller, who's one of the big wigs in Windows, said, and you'll have bits to play with at Build.
Right. Confirming what we already knew.
Confirming what we already knew. Right.
Yeah.
Is it a coincidence that Build in German means image? Probably.
Yes.
Probably.
It's one of the big German newspapers is Bild.
Oh, that's okay. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's a picture newspaper for people who like pictures. Windows Intune 2 was also one of the topics of conversation at the WWPC. Do they call it the WWPC? No.
No. Well, it's W.
PC?
Yeah,
they used to call it that.
Did they really?
I wonder why they don't.
I'm going to call it that just to confuse everybody. What is Intune 2? Isn't that their replacement for the whole tune-up thing that they used to do with oh God, now I've forgotten the name of it. Because they replaced Security Essentials had replaced.
Right. It's more of a it's a cloud-based version of some of the System Center stuff. PC management that's decentralized. The notion is that in the past you would have a company at a place that would have a local network, and you would have a server on premises that would manage those PCs, the security and the software updates, and you distribute software to them and so forth. And now, of course, a lot of people have companies or just smaller organizations that are widely distributed around the world. No one ever gets together into the same room to do that kind of management, and you can do it over the internet. So it's sort of a companion piece to Office 365 in some ways, if you want to think about it that way. But version 2 is in beta, and it's adding the crucial piece that was missing from version 1, which has been out for a few months now, which is software distribution. And this is something
that's cool.
Yeah, I've installed Windows Intune is free, the beta, for now through whenever they release it. and I've installed it on some of my PCs, and I've been traveling this week, so I haven't had a chance. But one of the things I'm looking forward to testing when I get home is this notion of remote software distribution. So you could create an installation package for Microsoft Office or whatever. You actually load it to Windows Azure behind the scenes. You don't have to know anything about that, but that's what's really happening. And then it gets distributed out to the PCs wherever they may be. And then once it's down there, it will get installed. And so I'm really curious to see how that works. That's pretty cool functionality.
And it's also not just Microsoft patches and distribution, but it's third party too, right?
Right.
Which is a really big.
Right. Another new feature, yeah, in version 2. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, just in case you might think that this sounds like it's not exciting, the Worldwide Partner Conference, I just want to point out that a personage no less than Sir Richard Branson of Virgin has posted on Google Plus, in case you missed it, the WPC 2011 keynote.
Please, you have to read the URL. Like, it's at
It is at http://digitalwpc.com/video/vision keynote video /3/Sir Richard Branson. So he spoke at this.
Apparently he did.
With John Roskill.
I wouldn't know, Leo. I was at the wrong conference.
He was at the Lincoln Memorial looking for something.
I didn't see him. There was a guy with a beard.
How was Sir Richard, Mary Jo, since you went?
Yes, he was very entertaining.
Why was he there? What is the theory behind that?
Well, every year they have like a guest speaker to kind of mix things up. Like last year they had Bill Clinton speak at the partner conference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does he say things like, I love Windows? Y'all should use Windows? I mean, what is there a connection? Do they, or is it just like, we got a celebrity?
It's like, we got a celebrity.
We got a celebrity. So Richard Branson didn't say, all my planes run on Windows.
He did not say that.
In fact, when the in-flight entertainment system crashes on Virgin America anyway, it's Linux.
Nice.
Yes.
So I don't suppose he said that.
He
Every
did not.
time
But
it
you know,
crashes, I
who
think,
else
why
was
didn't
in
I
town?
choose Windows? Who else was there?
You know who else was in town last night, Leo, was Justin Bieber.
I
saw
saw
him
that.
outside the partner conference.
But he wasn't there for the WPC. He was there for the ESPYs. So there's a difference.
That's right. But we
Yeah.
thought he might have been a secret guest speaker, but
Oh,
no.
wouldn't that be cool? Hi. You know, I love Windows.
You know, I got to say, the first 2 impersonations were pretty good.
I don't know what Justin Bieber
It
sounds
just
like.
fell apart right there.
He doesn't. He has his voice hasn't changed. Has it? He doesn't talk like this. It's hi, I'm Justin Bieber, and Auto-Tune runs best on Windows.
Right.
I don't know. What is MDOP 2011 R2?
Well, we shouldn't waste too much time on this, Leo. I know how you feel about these things.
Is this another enterprise product?
Yes.
What is Is it MDOP? No, MDOP.
Home Glory.
MDOP.
It's the Microsoft Desktop Optimization Pack, which is getting a revision in this year's rendition. 3 of the applications. You okay? You look like you got one of those ice headaches.
Freezer head. Oh. Okay, go ahead.
I'll just mention one of them because
I'll just play with my iPad. You continue.
This is a reasonably decent one. One of the cool tools in this suite is called Dart. Now I'm forgetting the name of it. It's basically a recovery disk, and there's a different version for XP and Vista and 7, but it's an awesome superset of what's available on the standard recovery disk stuff that you get in Vista and 7, and it includes a lot of the system center or system. I'm sorry, I'm losing my head here. The sysinternal tools and all kinds of neat stuff. But one of the things that Dart can do is bring a PC back that is non-booting, but of course what you have to do is bring around a disk, so it's literally a sneakernet type of thing. And in Dart, the new version of Dart, I'm not sure what the version number is, they're enabling you to do this remotely over a network. It won't work over the internet, but as long as it's on the local network, you can actually trigger a remote reboot and recovery experience on a PC somewhere in your environment. So it's kind of a cool little bit of functionality. And that's all I'll say on that. Well, I'll add this.
Yes.
So MDOP is also a perk of the software assurance program, Microsoft's volume licensing program. And if you have Windows Intune, you can get access to MDOP for $1 per PC per month as an additional feature. So you can actually get it through Intune as well.
And Windows Phone 7 news. Are we done with MDOP?
We are.
I wouldn't want to give it short shrift.
Well, I don't know. Mary Jo might have something to say about MDOP.
MDOP, no. I think you said everything that needed to be said.
Well, don't forget.
More.
Wait a minute. I think you've forgotten AGPM.
Jeez. Okay. So there's also an asset.
You're not going to do it. He's not going to do it. They told me to ask you about AGPM. I don't know what it is. No, apparently there's nothing. Don't go down that road because there's nothing there. I'll just look up the acronym real quickly here. Oh, it's Advanced Group Policy Management, of course.
Oh, that's not being updated, though.
There's no 4.0?
There's no, that's
no
not
5.0
one of the updates in R2.
Okay, good. All right.
Sorry.
See? Then I asked and answered, as they say.
I would recently learn, I always sort of figured Advanced Group Policy Management actually made its way into server at some point. I'm actually surprised to discover, or was earlier this year, surprised to discover it was still part of MDOP and not just part of the base server product. It seems like the type of thing that should just be in server.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think why they would.
I mean, for whatever it's worth, I think MDOP should be broadly available to anyone that wants it. I just think they could charge for it. You know, people would pay.
So
for
you
that.
have to be running server to use MDOP?
You have to be part of Microsoft's volume licensing program or a Windows Intune subscriber.
Yeah, it's a shame because I think these kind of tools could find their way. I mean, frankly, nowadays anybody running a household is managing a network.
Yeah. Well, if you're on a TechNet subscription or MSDN, you also have access to MDOP. I mean, it's not obviously those are for testing purposes, but if you're just looking to have access to the software to try it out, see what it's all about, you can get it from a TechNet subscription or from MSDN.
Right.
See, we've said a lot about MDOP all of a sudden.
No, in fact, I've suddenly become fascinated.
Well, Leo, let me tell you about two of the bigger client-side virtualization solutions that are available in MDOP.
Paul, so you're even though you're in Washington, D.C., I think you're monitoring this closely for developments.
Of course.
Yes. Then Windows Phone 7, your number one topic, because, of course, you've got the book on it, although I think you're kind of starting to transition to Windows.
Yeah, actually, as the author of a Windows Phone 7 book, I can assure you that Steve Ballmer's comments about the market growing from very little to very little over the past year is accurate.
Is that what he said? I love it.
Yes.
I thought that was a good moment, actually, because it was kind of a nice little deadpan humor,
sense of
dark humor.
Yeah.
But it's, look, it's the way it is.
It's obvious. I mean, we all know what the market share, roughly, what the market share is. So, I mean, might as well embrace it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Mary Jo, did you watch the Andy Lee stuff? Were you there for that?
I was. Yep.
So what do you think about the whole Windows Phone thing? I mean, he talked about we're not doing it on tablets, a little bit about the... I mean, what... do you see any glimmer of hope here?
No, he reiterated what we already know is the case, right? Microsoft's not letting the tablet makers or PC makers put the Windows Phone operating system on tablets. It's the exact opposite strategy of Apple, right?
Right.
Where Apple says iOS should be on phones and on iPads, and Microsoft says Windows Phone OS should be on phones and Windows should be on your slate or tablet. So, you know, it wasn't new that he said it, but it kind of got everybody riled up again. Like, why can't we have a phone OS on our tablet?
Well, it's also against the grain because Apple's doing a phone OS on their tablet. HP's doing a phone OS on their tablet. Android, I guess you could say you could make a case that Honeycomb isn't a phone OS; it's a tablet OS, but it's a lot closer to that than it is a desktop OS. Yeah,
it came from a phone OS.
Right.
I mean, that's the heritage.
Right.
Yeah. So his reasoning is everybody wants everything they have on their PC functionality-wise to be available on their tablet, which
we've gone there
really
before, kids.
disagree with.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. You know?
We have been there before. I thought 10 years of experience would have been enough to convince them otherwise. Right?
Microsoft is a focus group driven company, and I assure you that they polled people, and that's exactly what people told them.
That's why you don't ask people about that stuff, because they won't tell
you. Because I don't think people know what they want.
They know.
And sometimes you need to show them something different so they can say, oh, wait, this is what I want. Yeah. And I am fearful of this kind of thing. I mean, we talked in the past about the Windows 8 Start screen, and I think it's a successful stab at a UI that could work across different types of OSs and device types and all that stuff. But yeah, you know, simpler is always better. I keep coming back to that. And Windows Phone is simpler. It's just it's kind of a hard thing to escape, and I think it would work well. My very first reaction when I saw them remotely demonstrated for the first time, and when I got my hands on one of those devices for the first time, my reaction was always the same. This thing would be awesome on a tablet.
Well, what do you think the thinking is? I mean, is it really focus group driven, or
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
And also, I mean, Microsoft gets more per copy for Windows license to an OEM than.
Yep.
Terrible reason.
So that's the truth.
You think it has? Oh boy, I hope it's not that.
I
Sure.
think it's partially that.
Oh, good. We make $5 more per unit on something that's not going to sell, or we could make $5 less on unit on something that might actually sell, or at least we'll be competitive in a marketplace where you have touch-designed OSs.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
It is.
Maybe they see it as a niche. Maybe they say, well, look, we're going to get... In effect, it's almost a I give up. Okay, look, iPad is going to dominate this. Maybe Android will have a shot at it. Maybe touchpad will have a shot at it. But there's going to be a segment of the market, our segment of the market, that are desktop users that are going to want desktop functionality on these devices. And maybe that's not the biggest segment, but it's our segment.
I'm hoping that by the time that Build Conference has occurred, that Microsoft will have implicitly answered all the questions that I have running through my head about these types of things, But it's hard to imagine that being the case in some ways, because aside from a small group of very important programs, Office and Photoshop and things like that, I think that a lot of what people do on Windows PCs today is not necessarily specific to Windows PCs anymore. Like it was maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And we run a lot of web apps and so forth, and those things would work fine on any tablet OS. And, I guess I'm just a little nervous, but, who knows? Obviously, there are better minds than mine that work at Microsoft on this stuff, and I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. I like what I've seen, but I've only seen a very small bit of it, and every time they come out, just the way he sort of explicitly said it, like Mary Jo said, nothing new really in the news that we believe, as Microsoft believes, that Windows is for tablets and Windows Phone OS is not. It's still a little disheartening every time they say it. It's like the final nail in the coffin or something.
The one group of people who likes this message, besides Microsoft employees, is people who want to use a tablet as a business tablet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
That's what I'm kind of saying, is that
people.
that's Microsoft's natural audience anyway, so they're going to make a thing that's for them, and Acer.
But those people did not adopt the tablet PC in droves.
No, they've been trying to sell this for 10 years. I have one right in front of me, the convertible tablet.
Yep.
But maybe Microsoft, well, I have to say, it's almost a white flag saying, look, we're not going to make an iPad. That's not in our future. We're not going to try to compete in that marketplace. Well, it makes sense. I mean, isn't there a category of people who want to use Microsoft Office on a tablet?
I think so.
Yes.
And that's what you make
lot of people.
that's what you make your product for.
Sure. Hey, they could make a killing just making Microsoft Office for the iPad. I don't know why they don't do that.
But can you? It's a touch. I mean,
sure you can. They have a keyboard.
Yeah, I guess you could.
Yep. Or you
It's
make
not-
a totally web version of Office that you access through the browser.
And make it actually work.
Well, it would be,
Right.
I mean, Office 365 could work on an iPad. I think.
Sure.
You just make it HTML5, fully HTML5 compliant, and I think it would work.
It's
fine.
pretty close. It doesn't quite. It's not quite
I haven't
there
tried
yet.
it on here. So can you edit and all that?
No, that's the problem. So if you load up Office web app, Word web app or something like that, it's not. It doesn't quite work on the iPad.
Google
And it
Docs
seems like
had
the
that
type of
problem
thing
for a long time too. You couldn't edit. There must be something there that makes it hard to do, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little block of code that says if iPad, and then it goes into a little infinite loop or something. I don't. It seems like something that should just work.
Yeah.
So
But that isn't the
I
same.
literally know nothing. I don't know. I don't know what the thinking is. I don't know what the
Nevertheless, that's not the same as Office. That's Office, web Office, that web app.
No, but that would. I think that would be
Would
a
that
nice
scratch
first
that
step
itch?
and an easy first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe look, if this web-based Office gets good enough, they'll stop making it for Windows too, won't they? I mean, if this thing can replace the Office suite, how much better would it be to have this thing up in the cloud? They have this problem now where. I'm sorry, Mary Jo.
No, I just said for some people that would be good,
That's
not for
what they'd want.
everybody, but
Yeah.
No, not for everybody, but you know, it's Microsoft, so they get businesses and they get the need to keep people on a consistent version and all that stuff. But you know, Microsoft has this issue where a lot of people are using not just old versions of Windows and old versions of IE, but also old versions of Office, and they have specific security problems, or they only support older document formats and all that stuff. And it's tough bringing along 1 billion people when that's the size of the market, or whatever it is, 750 million people, I guess it is, in Office. You know, they don't always jump forward to the new versions.
Right.
So,
although we did hear at the partner conference, they've sold 100 million copies of Office 2010, which was a number I was really surprised by.
Wow.
So yeah, and actually, okay, I did not mention Office in the notes, but is that number was accurate? That's what they said, 100 million.
Yes. I went back and asked them and said, so you're saying you sold 100 million licenses of Office 2010 in a year? And they said yes.
That's, whoa.
Yeah,
So 400 million Windows 7, 100 million in 1 year.
Yep.
Office 2010. That's incredible.
Yeah, so I think
says
Windows
a lot
7
to
at one
everybody
year
who's
was
saying
240.
Office is dead.
Office
right?
is so far from dead. It sounds, and you know, it's funny because I look at Office 2010 and I say, well, I mean, you don't really have to upgrade. I mean, you know, there isn't. It's not like you can create a whole bunch of raft of new features in something like this, and yet obviously people do.
Right.
What was it you think that made people feel that they had to upgrade?
Well, I think a lot of the people were Office 2003 users.
They were real or XP or something.
Yeah. I mean, at some point you have
Right.
to move forward. Yeah. Obviously, Outlook was probably the big deal in this version. They brought that forward to the Ribbon UI. They made the UI more consistent across all the applications, so all of the apps and also all the online services like SharePoint and so forth sport that, you know, Ribbon UI for kind of a consistent look and feel and so forth.
Do people upgrade to something like that? Spend that much money for a UI upgrade?
Well, I don't know because
Maybe
they didn't
for
break
training,
it out, but I
for
would
training
bet.
purposes.
Well, I think most people who got Office 2010, most of those licenses are probably, well, actually, it's probably split pretty evenly between businesses that are on some kind of a subscription model.
Oh, so it's cheap.
Well, and also people who bought a consumer-oriented version of Office 2010. I guess one of the big deals with Office 2010 is that home and student version, or whatever they're calling it these days, is selling a lot better than it used to. And it's pretty cheap, you know, $100 to $150, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
and
get
plus
three, and you get 3 licenses.
I believe you do. Yeah, you still do. Yeah.
Now, is the 100 million counting those 3? No, it's
No, that would just be the one purchase.
the one
Sure.
license.
Yeah. I totally agree with Paul, though. This is a lot of volume license
Right.
deals in this.
So it's almost
in this total.
automatic.
And we don't know how many of those 100 million are deployed. We just know they were bought.
They were paid for it, yeah. And from Microsoft's perspective, that's sort of the important number, but
Right.
yeah.
Well, and do volume licenses kind of, in some cases, off automatically, just like, oh, you get the next version automatically? You know,
Yeah, I mean, that's the point of some of the subscription
Give me
stuff.
$20 a year, and you get everything anyway. So,
Yeah, and actually, more often than not, what you're looking at is businesses that have what they used to call, at least, maybe they still do, downgrade rights, you know, where their Office, the entire company may be standardized in Office 2007.
Right.
So even though what you're purchasing are Office 2010 licenses, perhaps they're deploying Office 2007 for compatibility reasons or whatever. I'm not saying that a lot of people are actually doing that, but that would certainly be a possibility.
Yeah. I had something brilliant to say, but I forgot. Oh, I know. Let's break for a commercial. And we shall return. Mr. Paul Thurrott is here. Mary Jo Foley is here from allthingsmicrosoft.com. We're talking about WPC, the Worldwide Partner Conference, which is going on in L.A. Mary Jo is there. But there's lots more to talk about, including, of course, the Netflix thing, which I know you're going to have something to say about, Paul. Amazon tablet rumors. We thought today would be the day for Lion. Still waiting. We got picks and tips and tricks too, all coming up on Windows Weekly. But before I go on, I must tell you about a great program for anybody in the support business. Of course, it's Go to Assist Express. I think we started, using this product or its sister product probably, because this is the latest, newest, sharpest stuff. Way back when on the screensavers days. And we've been using it ever since and just been so happy with it. It's, when I have I mean, okay, this is maybe not the intended use, but whenever my mom calls, it's Go to Assist Express, so I can fire it up. I go on the computer, I fix it, I'm in, I'm out, it's fast. Now, it's really intended for pros, the IT professional, the software support guy or gal, somebody who really has to support a lot of users, because there's features in here that anybody who does support is going to want. First of all, cross-platform, yes, absolutely. You can support anything Windows or Mac from a Windows or Mac. Cross-platform. 128-bit SSL encryption, that's good. You can fix somebody's system even in an open Wi-Fi access spot. You know, they're in the field and they say, hey, I'm at the hotel, fix this. And you can without risking the corporate data. It's like a VPN right to their computer. 8 sessions at once, so you're not waiting around for the install or the scan. You can go on to the next one and the next one. Unattended access means you're not waiting around for the client. It's very easy, too. The client doesn't have to have it pre-installed or anything like that. In fact, this is really one of the best uses of this. You can start using it today with all of your clientele. Just go to gotoassist.com/Windows. Install it for free for 30 days. The next support call you get, you say, here, click this link. Or you can email it to them. And it's a little Java bit that downloads quickly. You can easily walk them through it because you say, click this link. And when it says allow, you click yes. And that's it. And now you're in. That's all the installation requires on their part, and that's important. You can't, if somebody's asking you for support, you don't want to start supporting the tool first. I really think this is worth trying for free. 30 days. Just visit gotoassist.com/Windows. They have monthly subscriptions. They also have daily subscriptions for people like me who just do this from time to time. Just a really useful tool. Gotoassist.com/Windows. We thank Citrix, as always, for their wholehearted support of Windows Weekly and all of our shows. So one of the things they announced at the WPC, after the great success of Gateway with their stores, more Microsoft stores. 75 more stores. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm glad they're doing this, actually.
Well, it's really been great for Apple, and I think with the right attitude, it's a smart thing for a company to do. Gateway had, was a classic failure, but that was some time ago. Have the other Microsoft stores been successful up to now?
I don't know if they've ever broken it out, but I can just say from having visited one that they're pretty cool little experiences. I mean, it's hard to ignore the Apple influence that occurs there, but they're warmer and friendlier looking, and there's a lot more big spaces for interactive stuff, with Kinect and Xbox and all that. And this is just something I feel that's necessary, And I was really nervous that they would open 6 or 7 of these things, and then that would be that, So, and there were rumors to that effect. So, the news that they're going to open 75 over the next 2 to 3 years in the U.S. and then also internationally, I think is great. Mary Jo, have you had a chance to visit one?
I have. I've been to the one in Bellevue, and it was really good. I loved it, and I wish we had one in New York City. It would be really great.
Well, if that map is accurate, you're about to have about 37 of them in New York City.
How many of those will be in people's homes?
Yeah,
no, I'm
exactly.
That's an inside joke. Yeah. But
what they ended up saying about the map, by the way, they said that the dots on that map don't actually indicate for sure where the stores are going to be. What they are is showing you where the major retail centers are in the U.S. where it would be good if they had stores.
I see. Well, I've got my fingers crossed for Denim Legacy Place.
So what would, if you go in there, though, it wouldn't just be like the Windows store or the Xbox store. They'd probably have partner products, right? I mean, you'd have HPs and stuff like that there, right?
Well, they have PCs, and they have the signature PCs that we talked about, which is very cool. And I think that there's a certain class of product where it just makes a lot of sense to go in, look at them, be able to see one next to another one, have them be in a nice environment, not like at Best Buy where, who knows what kind of condition these things will be in. I just think it's in the same way that it's good for people who want to buy Macs to be able to have that presentation. It also works out very well for people who want to buy PCs.
But there's a difference, and I think the difference could actually redound to Microsoft.
Yep.
Apple's selling its hardware. I mean, they make the hardware. Microsoft, of course, is selling partner hardware. I would bet that HP or whoever else is going to pay good money to be in that store. So, in fact, this could be a net for Microsoft zero loss or net gain.
Sure.
Right? I mean, they can go to all the partners and say, you want to be in the store? Okay, fork over the dough
Yeah.
And HP and whoever, Toshiba, Acer, whoever else, they could make money on this thing.
Anything that shows your products in a good light is a net gain.
They get both. They get both.
And and that's the point. I think that's.
And that was the problem with Gateway, or only selling gateways.
By the way, I don't. This is not in the notes, but I had we had friends visiting from out of town, and there were a couple places they wanted to visit that were these giant retail locations, and we walked into a Best Buy. There's a Best Buy in Denim, and I witnessed one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, which is Best Buy is basically gutting their PC section.
Oh.
They are relegating PCs to this kind of just a normal little aisle, and they are creating an enormous area where the PCs used to be for tablets.
Oh, tablets.
Now, the reason that's bizarre to me is that they have a handful of tablets they can sell now, but what they really have is a lot of shelf space where they anticipate there will be tablets. So there's they have Kindles, and I think they sell some other ebook readers. They have all of the Motorola Zoom and the various Android-based tablets. They have the WebOS HP touchpad and so forth. But it's the reason it's weird, I think, is that the sales of these tablets combined have got to amount to maybe 1/10 of PC sales. But that simply by doing this, by presenting the tablets in this fashion, and by de-emphasizing the PCs, I think Best Buy is actually big enough to have an impact on what people buy, because people will go into the store and say, well, obviously these things are what I want. Look how prominently displayed they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's going to be self-fulfilling prophecy.
Very, very interesting. So, a Microsoft Store is in the same way that Apple in the past couldn't rely on its partners at the time, CompUSA and so forth, to adequately or properly display its stuff. I think Microsoft has known for a long time that they can't either, and maybe this store expansion is a reaction to that, partially a reaction to that.
It's also a reaction, of course, to the success Apple's had. Here's the Mall of America.
Oh, of course.
And the Microsoft Store in the Mall of America is directly across from the Apple Store.
Do you think it's like a Monty Python movie where they hurl things at each other?
I fought in your general direction. What's interesting is how similar the stores look. The IKEA, the hardwood floors, the Genius Bar. There's a certain similarity.
Sure.
But you'd expect that. I think people say, "Oh, they're stealing from Apple," but no, I think this is just what works. This makes sense.
Yep.
It displays the hardware in the best possible light.
Yep. And the other cool thing for me about the Microsoft Store is they're going to have Windows phones.
Good.
Good. Yeah, we've
and if you try to
before.
buy one, they won't shush you away.
Yay.
Exactly. You can go in and say, "Hey, I want to buy a Windows phone," and you're not going to hear, "You idiot!
Yeah.
Why?"
That's probably hurts them a lot, doesn't it? I was talking to somebody on the radio show. A teenager called in. Her mom and she called in. She said, "We want some of this data capability. We don't want to pay data charge. We don't pay $30 a month for data, but she wants to text a lot. She wants." And I said, the Kins are free basically right now.
Yep.
Go get one. They're great. They no longer charge the $30 a month data for it, and you can text, do all that stuff. And I think it's especially the Kin 2 with the slide-up keyboard. It's great.
Yeah.
She said,
that's what my son uses.
Yeah. Oh, good. That's good to know. Then somebody called in and said, I tried to buy a Kin, and Verizon said, no, you don't want that phone. This must happen all the time, right?
Yeah.
You want an iPhone.
It's so second rate.
Yeah. You want an iPhone. You don't really want that phone.
Right.
Yep.
So I think the Kin was perfect for what this girl wanted, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. My son loves that phone.
Really? That's neat.
And I can't. I feel like I'm speaking to an empty room when I say stuff like this, but everyone makes fun of the Kin, but has anyone actually tried one? Because surprise, surprise, they're actually pretty cool, and especially for younger, pseudo teenagers.
Yeah, he's a preteen, right? He's like 12.
Yeah, well, he just turned 13.
13. Oh, he's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, loves it. Loves it.
Yeah. No, I think that I'm sure that a few people got whiplash when I said get the Kin.
Yeah.
But it's really the closest thing to a smartphone that's not a smartphone, and that's kind of what they wanted.
It's like a smartphone with training wheels.
Was I mistaken in one respect? I mean, Microsoft's killed it twice now. I guess it doesn't matter.
Killed it twice.
It's still going to work.
Yeah, it works fine. Yeah, what they've done at Verizon, as you know, is they've taken it off the data plan, essentially. So, and that's how my son uses it. He uses it without a data plan. So he can text, and when he's home, he can use the Wi-Fi to get online and do the online stuff. But
It's Perfect. And that in the chat room, actually, Stephen 3X is reminding me. He said, "I told you in the chat room the reason Verizon says go away is because they don't get that $2,000 over the 2-year contract. It's not nearly enough money. It's just a phone."
Sure.
I mean, they might, don't get that. I think, I'd be honest, I don't think that there was a memo that went out. I really think that this is the hipster in the store.
Well, you would be treated like a bumpkin if you walked into one of those stores today and said, "What I'm looking for is a phone, but I don't want any of that internet nonsense."
Right.
You would be looked at.
Yeah. You don't. It's not necessarily corporate policy. If for corporate policy, they wouldn't stock the damn thing. It's really the hipster saying, "Oh, dude, get a real phone. Do yourself a favor."
Actually, he hears that and he instantly starts messaging someone about what a noob you are.
Noob. Oh, she wanted to buy a kin. Can you believe that?
He's like, you wouldn't believe how many people came in here today and asked about a kin. Oh, wait.
I was going to say, hey, why don't you go get a fax machine, too?
I'm really bad at my job.
Yeah, really. No kidding. Man, all these people trying to buy kins, what's with that? What's that all about? I don't know. What do you do? The way you wrote this is so that you would like consumer enterprise. So it's like you would lull me into.
Yeah.
And then
I wish I was that intelligent to have had the foresight to have done it that way.
So you say, "Oh, Microsoft 75 stores gets me excited, gets me going, gets me engaged, my blood's flowing," and then you say, SQL Denali CTP3's coming out.
Well, it is. It's my software pick of the week, Jared.
No, I'm just teasing.
So
you.
enjoy that.
I'm every bit as excited about it as you are.
Enjoy the column level editing and whatever it is you can do with that.
You sneak. So SQL Denali CTP3.
So the next version of SQL Server is codenamed Denali. This is the third, not consumer. What do they call it? Customer technical preview.
Community.
Community. Thank you. I don't know. I'm sunstruck. I've been walking around Washington D.C. today, and I just don't know what's going on. Community. Technical preview.
Community.
Yes. So this thing will be released at some future date. There are new versions of the System Center products. Operations Manager and Orchestrated, I think, is new, isn't it? Orchestrated.
Oh, yeah. System Center has like 10 things coming out this year.
Yeah.
Yep. But
Windows
Denali
Azure
might be this year, Paul. It might be.
It might be this year. Okay.
Yep.
I'm so glad you have a little playmate you could talk with this about.
My master plan is coming together.
Who shares your enthusiasm.
There are some rabid SQL users out there, Leo, believe it or not.
I'm sure there are.
Let's talk about Azure-based private cloud appliances, shall we?
More coffee!
Yes. and the controversy over why Dell wasn't mentioned, even though they previously were mentioned.
Yep. Let's talk about that. Leo can take a break, and we'll talk about that.
And then I'm going to do a sidebar. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll be back.
They announced that HP and Fujitsu would ship private cloud computing appliances based on Windows Azure by the end of the year. But previously, they had announced that Dell was going to be one of the partners for that, and Dell got no mention whatsoever.
Right. I asked about that here. I said, why didn't you talk about Dell? Are they on board still, or did they drop it? And they say they're still on board, and they just weren't ready to announce their date yet.
I think what's really happening is that Dell's the one who's going to buy RIM, and they're going to pull an HP, and then they're going to ship like these PCs that have the Touchpad OS or whatever it's called, their Playbook OS, on their PCs, and Microsoft's mad at them.
Could be. I like that conspiracy theory.
Why not?
Yeah, but at least now we know we're going to have Fujitsu and we're going to have HP, and they're going to sell Azure appliances. Yay.
Have you heard anything about, did they talk at all about the small business server essentials hardware, or storage server essentials hardware, or Windows Home Server hardware?
Oh, now you're just doing this to be mean.
What other server hardware could I mention?
You're just rubbing it in.
There's just been no noise on this at all.
No.
The small business stuff, nothing?
I think they showed a slide during one of the keynotes where they showed some of those things, but it was not a big theme here.
I gotta start bugging people about that. I don't know why there's not more news there. Uh-oh. Somebody please call 911.
I fell off my ball. I'm sorry. Actually, you know, no, the side note on that is I found it very interesting, but I don't know if I mentioned this last week, you know, but Michael Dell has... You got a ball?
I could be sitting on this.
No, don't. Wow.
Probably would be safe.
No. That's funny. So that's... Well, I'm not going to ask you.
Why would you have a ball?
I don't want to know.
I traveled to D.C. with the ball.
Did you?
No.
No. Michael Dell has been hanging out with strangers on Google+. He'll just start a video hangout. Does that sound like a beginning of a joke?
It's like internet chat relay or something.
Yeah. An internet entrepreneur CEO and walks into a bar. But no, but you could go and you know, it's very interesting to see something like Dell be engaging with the hoi polloi, as it were.
You know, this reminds me of when the first President Bush someone had to explain to him how a checkout counter worked at a supermarket, and this is almost like he heard from friends that this is hot new thing.
No, I don't think that's the case. First of all, Dell obviously is technological. I mean, he got into the business by building PCs in his dorm room. I mean, he's not.
Yeah, 1989. I mean, what?
Well, all right, but I mean, he's not a nudnik.
Talking about here?
But I think that it surprises me. I mean, to see that kind of engagement with the hoi polloi, the unwashed masses, the consumers.
Oh,
I guess he doesn't run Dell anymore. He's just kind of a chairman, right? He just kind of sits around.
Is anyone running Dell?
You know, that's actually what's interesting about Google+, because Tom Anderson, the guy who founded MySpace, is very active in there. And then, of course, you realize, well, that's because he sold it. He has nothing to do. Yeah.
Apparently, Mark Zuckerberg is pretty...
He's not active at all, but he's in there. He's the number one most followed guy in there. 120,000, something like that. All right. Are we done? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to distract you from SQL Server Denali CTP3 coming out. Is there anything more to say about that? No. Okay.
I was afraid to say anything else.
And now, following true to the pattern of Excite Leo, Bore Leo, Excite Leo, Bore Leo, let's talk about Connect. This is actually really great. Microsoft not only now has embraced the hacker community, they've got a toolkit for Connect.
For our next overlords. build your next master.
So I didn't even know there was a Microsoft Robotics Studio, but I guess there is.
There is.
And they're going to make a toolkit for Connect.
Yep.
That is really neat.
They put one available for download this week. It's a spin-off of that Connect SDK for Windows 7, but it's for robotics. So yeah, they're alive. The robotics team is alive, and
Not
they
the
still
robots.
are doing things. The robots are not alive.
It's alive.
Well, I can imagine that people who do robotics, I mean, this is, you know, you've got a lot of support for robotics. It's an interesting kind of hobby field. But there's I mean, this is where some really cool stuff is happening. And one of the things that you need is sensors, the ability to see the outside world. And that's very expensive. It has been very expensive. To have a Connect give you not only the picture of what's going on, but the depth. It's fantastic. I think that you'll see all sorts of interesting things. It's only a matter of time before you see a robot on the Celtics. I think.
Actually, a couple of the players were
playing a little robotically.
A little suspicious, yeah.
Xbox Music. Now, today's the day Spotify emerges in the U.S. I signed up for my account.
Yep.
And of course,
Spotify's neat because it gives you a chance to rediscover Zune Pass.
Nice.
Not clear why this wasn't exciting 3 years ago, but
yeah, I don't. You know, I'll be honest because you're right. I mean, not only Zune Pass, which actually is a better deal because for the $10 a month, you also get 10 songs you own every month.
Yep.
As far as I could tell, all the services have roughly the same database of songs. I use RDO, there's Mog, there's Rhapsody, there's Zune Market, Zune Pass. And I've tried them all. There's some slight differences. I don't see what makes Spotify so sexy except that we couldn't get it till now.
Right, that's exactly right. We don't like to see Europe get stuff before us.
Yeah. No, I think
whether
the Zune Pass is the best deal.
Plague or whatever.
If you're looking for a deal, I would say Zune Pass is the best deal because you get those 10 songs.
Yep.
I don't remember. Zune Pass music, is it MP3 or is it WMA?
So the subscription music is WMA, but the music you buy that you keep is MP3, and it's not protected in any way.
That's the limitation for me because I want to use these things on my portable devices and on my Mac and on my iPad. And
right,
of course
which begs the question, why hasn't Microsoft ported this software to the iOS and to Android? And
that's held it back, I think.
Yep.
Otherwise, I would say it's a better deal. It's a better if you're on Windows and I presume Windows Phone. I hadn't tried. I guess yes. No, Windows Phone works fine with it. Yeah. No, I have tried it. It's basically a Zune.
Right.
I point over there because that's where my Windows Phone is.
The empty screen.
No, I got it back. You know what? I couldn't figure out where it went. I forgot that I lent it to Tony, our editor, and so I went to my AT&T account and I just I deactivated it. And lo and behold, the next day, Tony said, "I don't know, the data stopped working." I said, "Oh, thanks."
Nice.
It must be broken. I'll fix it. So now I have my Focus back, and it's meanwhile he no-doed it or whatever you call it. Donoted it. No-doed it. Donoed it. So should I put Mango on it?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm using.
Okay. Do I have to pay to be a developer to do that, or can I steal it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess there's a workaround for that. I haven't publicized that, but there is a.
I'll pay.
People have written about it. There's a way to make it happen, I guess.
It's not the money for me. It's that, and it's the same thing on the Apple side. When I pay to get developer privileges, then suddenly I agree to an NDA.
Sure.
And so what I'd like to do, and you see, I know, for instance, that hobbles you a little bit because you have an official copy of Mango, so you can't talk about Mango. It's like Fight Club.
No, they let us talk about it.
Oh, they do?
There was a week-long period or whatever, 10 days, where we couldn't, but we can now.
Oh, okay.
The issue, I would just give you this little tip if you are going to do that. They're very clear about this in the instructions, but you create a backup of your previous version. You want to save that. It's something precious because you're going to need that to get to the original, to the shipping version of Mango.
That's actually a really good tip. So you will not be able to upgrade the Mango beta. You'll have to revert.
Yeah, it's possible you could get into a situation where you have to flash the phone through the wireless carrier.
Right.
If you don't have your own backup.
Good to know. You have a cryptic little note here about Xbox Music.
Well, yeah. So unfortunately, as is so often the case in our world, somebody mistakenly writes something, and then it's broadcast around the internet on every blog as if it were a fact.
Right.
And that was the existence of something called Xbox Music, which led to speculation that Microsoft was going to replace the Zune brand with Xbox right away, and that's actually not happening. So it was just a mistake. So if you read a story, it's not true.
Don't believe everything you read in them blogs. Them bloggers.
Unless it's my blog or Mary Jo's blog.
There's two good bloggers in the world, and I think we know who they are.
It's pretty damn close to that, Leo.
Xbox Windows 8 rumor of the week. This is our final tidbit from WPC.
Well, so we touched on this earlier, and that's just that there's I'm not even sure why that was in that list, maybe just because it was an Xbox thing, but there's a rumor going around that Windows 8 has some references to Xbox 360 in it, and that it could possibly...
Okay. We talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about it.
But, you know...
I tried to have two interesting things there at the end.
To wake me up.
Just to bring it home.
You would rather play Call of Duty on an Xbox than a PC because you could do both. And I noticed you use the Xbox.
If it was the same game and you were using the controller, what would the difference be?
Right.
And how cool would it be to go on a business trip and continue playing a game that I was playing at home in my living room on an Xbox?
Yeah.
I think there's an interesting crossover there. And again, I have no understanding of whether this is true or not. There's a part of me that believes that it couldn't possibly be true, but I do sort of think about it and think this could be pretty interesting if they did it.
And now we put Mary Jo to sleep.
Windows game stuff is...
Yes. Yes, I'm ready to slide under the
gaming.
table.
What is that? All right, well, let's
Can't we talk about BizTalk server?
Sure.
See, even I draw the line.
There are some places to which even Paul will not go. What is BizTalk Server?
Oh, here it comes.
Do you really want to know?
Yeah.
Or is it like the clipping thing, or do you really want to know?
No, I really want to know. Were you really bored when I discussed that? Did that really
No,
put you...
I was fascinated by that, actually.
Oh, okay.
No,
Well, see, it's just like that then.
BizTalk Server is Microsoft's integration server. It's a very high-end enterprise server.
Higher end than, say, Windows 2000, Server 2008.
Well, just kind of a different server. It's
Okay.
more for integrating applications.
Got it.
It's one way to think of it is if you're familiar with Visio,
Yes.
it works like Visio, but it allows you to automate processes that programmers could later then go tie code to create workflows and so
Oh,
forth.
that's actually kind of cool. So you would draw, in effect, you draw the workflow, and then
That's
the
right.
programmer would come in and populate the flow.
Yep.
And what would they populate it with? Would that could be any language? Is it .NET?
Pixie dust, Leo.
Pixie-
Pixie dust.
Make it so.
However, that requires an add-on pack
Pixie
at
Pack.
additional cost.
Now that's cool. Actually, I kind of like that. We have to do something like that. We need to automate our workflow.
I can't tell you how many times I've said that.
I was just thinking of getting some interns, but maybe BizTalk Server is where we go. We're gonna no. Mary Jo Foley is here, all about Microsoft.com, that great ZDNet blog. She is the Microsoft insider, knows more about what's going on inside those hallowed ivy-covered halls at Redmond than anyone else. Also with us, of course, the host of the show, Mr. Paul Thurrott. We will be back in a moment. We've got, I want to get Paul's take on this Netflix price hike. A lot of people upset about this. But that's right after I tell you about, I guess I won't do the Netflix ad here, about Carbonite.com. We'll save that till we hear what Paul thinks. About Carbonite.com. Carbonite is the right way to back up. It's online storage. Now, why is that important? Because if you back up, and I don't think you should not do this. In fact, I do recommend you back up to an external drive or a DVD or CD or maybe a USB key that's right next to your computer. That's fine. It has some real advantages. It's right there. You can get it immediately. But I think you know that it's really important to get that stuff off-site, too, in addition. Because then if the worst happens, you have a fire, a flood, whatever, somebody breaks in and steals everything, you haven't lost all the backups. You need an off-site backup as well. Now, there are lots of ways to do this. We talked about Mesh last week, and that's great. But here's the deal. How much data do you want to back up? How about every bit of that personal data on your internal drive for $59 a year, less than 16 cents a day? Is that pretty attractive? I think that's the deal. That's what Carbonite does for Windows or Mac. You put it on your system. You can try it, by the way, for 2 weeks free, which is a good idea because you'll see how it. I think a lot of people are concerned. Well, wait a minute. Is this going to be backing up all the time? Is it going to slow me down? Is it going to slow down my internet? No. But the best way to know that is to try it. So go to Carbonite.com. Use the offer code Windows. You do not need a credit card. You'll install it on your system. There are some limitations in the free trial. It won't do movie files, things like that, because, it just won't. They have to have some limitations. So you put that on there and watch and see, and you'll see it doesn't slow you down. It's backing up your data all the time whenever you're online. 128-bit SSL, so you're secure. Encryption, so you're private, if you choose. It's just fantastic. And well, the other thing, while you're doing the trial, log in to your Carbonite account on any other computer, on your smartphone, and lo and behold, there's your data. So it's cloud storage, unlimited cloud storage for $59 a year. Now, it's not multiple computers or multiple external drives. It's all the data on a single internal drive, okay, or whatever's internal to your system. But that could be gigabytes. It could be terabytes, I guess. I want you to try it free. Carbonite.com. Use the offer code Windows. If you decide Windows, WINDOWS. If you decide to buy, use the same offer code. I do want you to try it first, but if you decide to buy, use the same offer code, and you'll get 14 months for the price of 12. 2 free months. 14 months for the price of 12, $59. Backup done right. It's simple, and yet it's so sophisticated. Sometimes the most sophisticated stuff is really simple, and this is one of them. I love it. Carbonite.com. Use the offer code Windows, and Paul and I shall thank you. We shall thank you deeply. Mary Jo, either you've shrunk.
I've shrunk. I don't know what just happened there.
You
Weird.
tilted. Yes, now that's lovely. She's growing. There we go.
I'm in a dark dank hotel room in Los Angeles.
Hey, whatever you do, stay off the 405 this weekend.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
I heard that. Ooh.
Carmageddon,
I'm
they're calling it.
soon.
My show, actually, my radio show is going to be preempted. I do a weekend call-in show, and one of the stations is Los Angeles. It's the mothership, KFI. It's a big talk station in Los Angeles. And they informed me, they said, Leah, we're not going to put your show on Saturday because all we're going to be doing is telling people how, how to get around the 405, which is the major corridor in L.A., and it's not being closed for a movie. I presume they're working on it.
Yeah, they are. Over, I think, 2 days.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's back in town ready to do Terminator 4. The day the 405 closed. He started to sound a little Jamaican, man. I don't know why. But that is a big story there. And you'll be out before then, I hope, Mary Jo.
Yes, I need to leave in like 10 minutes, in fact.
Oh,
yikes.
Let's hurry up and rush this show. Let's get it over with.
I'll just go slide under my desk. Like,
Yeah, by the time she's gone, we'll just be seeing the top of her head, and then that'll be the end of that.
So as we talked
I guess
about
she's
gaming,
gone. I don't know what happened.
she just started shrinking. So, like Alice in Wonderland.
yes.
So, do you use Netflix, Mary Jo?
No,
So you won't have an opinion on this one.
I don't care at all about Netflix. I want to go back to Denali.
Wow.
Well, maybe if it's Denali you want, we could talk about Lion. No, but briefly, Netflix, I think, irritated a lot of people, although it seems to be calming down now once people really realize what happened. They call it a price hike, but really what Netflix said is if you're paying $7.99 for the streaming and then a couple bucks more for discs, we're going to split the two out. So you'll pay for the discs and you'll pay for streaming separately. And you can do $7.99 plus $7.99, so $16 for, 3 discs and streaming. Or you could separate it out. So some people see that as a price hike. I don't know. Well, how do you feel about it? Paul, do you get discs still?
I do. And I looked at my initial reaction to this was I can't believe they didn't do this sooner. I've always felt like this service was a little underpriced. Although on the other hand, it's a little strange because typically these types of things get less expensive over time. I think the expensive bit for Netflix is literally the mailing of the discs.
Yeah, I think this is probably
they're...
pressure from the movie industry to get people off of the discs.
Yeah, it's going to work, I think. There's been a lot of complaining, but I think the reality is people realize there are no good alternatives.
It's still cheaper than going to a movie.
It's still a valuable service. Well, yeah, so, right, what's my alternative, right? I want to get DVDs occasionally, so I'm going to start going to Blockbuster, the one that's left in New England, or the...
Right.
We
have a Blockbuster in town, and they have a big banner, obviously trying to take advantage of this, saying $1 a day per movie.
Sure.
But that doesn't mention late fees, which is about another $1 a day.
I think what's going to happen on the other end of this is that most Netflix customers are going to move to streaming.
That's what I think, too.
Service, which, is the future anyway.
So Eric says in the chat room, Eric Duckman says, but wait a minute, my current subscription is going for $10 to $16. How is that not a price hike? Well, it is. Absolutely. I'm not saying it's not a price hike, but really but you could also say it's an unbundling. And I think that's really what, from Netflix point of view, it is.
Yeah.
They want to say, here, for $8 you get the streaming, and then for whatever, $8 you get discs. You can do both if you want, but that's really, and frankly, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but about 2 months ago in the Netflix ads, they said, don't sell the discs. Just talk about streaming.
Sure.
So I really...
Well, that's where the value is, and they have put a lot of energy and money into that service. They have spent a lot of money to get new content in there, and I just think there's more upside for them. There's more... they can benefit more from it directly, whereas, the shipping costs just keep going up.
Right.
Shipping discs around the country is not a business model for the future.
There's also the sales tax issue because if you ship, that means you will have a physical presence in many states. Netflix can turn that off if they can get people to stop shipping. I'm sure the movie industry doesn't like the piracy element of shipping.
Sure.
You rent a DVD, there's nothing to stop you whatsoever, except ethics, from making copies of those and sending them back immediately. So I think this is the movie industry. I think this was kind of almost inevitable. I'm not making apologies for Netflix, but But I still think even if you got the $16 deal, that's cheaper than the late fees were for me for one.
Yeah.
I mean, I finally got fed up.
I think mine went up. Mine was a $5 hike, but I sort of looked at it like, well, I'm not getting rid of it. I love Netflix, and maybe over time I get rid of the disc part of it because that is certainly less valuable than it used to be.
And some people will get rid of streaming because they'll say,
I
I
think
want
that's
the
reason.
discs.
I think that's why you own Netflix, and its ubiquity across devices is what's so great about it.
I think, yes, I agree. And I get a 5-disc, so I'm going up to $40 a month. But, yeah, which I now have to kind of think that's a little bit much. But I'm just wondering, some people may choose streaming only. If discs are important, some people may choose discs only. That will be, in either case, that will be a price cut. You'll go down to $8.
Sure.
So it's only people who want to keep what they've got, both, and that's people like you, Paul, I guess. I don't know. We don't know yet what the impact will be on.
But it's getting less and less. You know, when I look through the Netflix site at what's available, increasingly it's streaming. The DVD stuff is almost just new releases in the concept of DVDs, which means, you know, they have this window where every week, you know, new movies come out, and it's pretty much just that. But
I'm happy with streaming. I don't actually. I've had the same discs for months. I don't really. Yeah. I don't. You know, I think that's what's really going to happen. Is it's going to force a lot of people to look at their use, and they'll say, which, by the way, I'm sure Netflix doesn't want because they're making money on me. If I've had 5 discs for 3 months,
sure,
they love
those
me.
discs.
Yeah,
you bought them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when they went to, I don't know when it was, sometime in the past year, they added that streaming only plan.
Right.
I think the expectation was that a lot of more people would have done that. And I'm sure a lot of people did do it, but I think a lot of people clung to some minimal DVD plus streaming plan. And I just think it cost them too much. I think that the cost of that have just gone up over time, and it's become untenable. So they just had to raise prices on that kind of thing.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Today was supposed to be the day for. Here's another thing, Mary Jo's. Just, if you want to leave, Mary Jo, it's fine. I completely understand. Just take off.
Her bags are packed.
She's ready to go.
Bags are packed. And I'm
Taxi's
ready to
waiting
roll.
outside the door.
I have to tell you one quick bit of news, though. Can I interrupt you before you talk lion?
Yes.
Kate Hudson just named her baby Bing. This is not a joke.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
No. The baby's full name is Bingham Bing Han Bellamy.
Bing Bellamy. Hey, Bing Bellamy here, Microsoft corporate liaison.
Yeah.
She's really kind of dooming him to a future in sales, I think, with a name like Bing Bellingham.
Or a future Friends, remake.
Hey, Bing Bellingham. Or Bing Bellum. What is it? Bingham? Bing Bingham?
Bingham is the real name, and Bing is the nickname.
Bingham Bellamy.
Bellamy. Bing Bellamy.
You know,
I knew you wanted to know that.
I went to Yale, so there was guys there named Dink. And actually, I went to school with a guy named Bing. Bing, incidentally, went on to found a little company called Electronic Arts, and I think he's done okay. I've lost track of him.
That's a good point.
So Bing isn't, then Bing Crosby.
I know.
I'm not thinking, and I might be wrong, that she named him after the search engine. I could be wrong on that.
She binged and decided.
There were guys all over Yale named Dink, Bing, Buffy, Muffy.
Dink was more of an unofficial name where I came from.
Yeah, you wouldn't think the guy would choose that for his nickname.
No.
By the way, his real name, and I kid you not, J.P. Morgan. He was a Morgan. But I call myself Dink. It's ironic, don't you know? Would you like to smoke a $100 bill with me? Lion, we were supposed to get it today. I keep checking, nothing. I got nothing.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened. Microsoft, Apple. Who does Max? Apple. You disappoint me. Amazon tablet rumors. Did you see that? Now, this Mary Jo might have something to say about. Amazon, we keep waiting for Amazon's to drop the other shoe on this stuff, and now they're saying 9-inch screen, color, a black and white Kindle and an Android-based Kindle. This might be a killer product.
Well, plus a full Kindle tablet too.
Right.
And one of them has touch supposedly, and one doesn't. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Hot product.
I think if there's anyone who could take on Apple, it's got to be Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Because they have the ecosystem behind it. And I think that's the key bit. You know, and it should have been a wake-up call when they started their little app store that they were heading in this direction. So I hope they do this. I think Apple needs some kind of competition to keep things on the level, as we say. And Amazon will hit them hard on price, too, which I think would be great for everybody. So,
Do you think it competes more with Apple than with Google? I guess Google benefits because it's Android.
You know, here's something. I was thinking about that earlier today. It's been so long. Do you think there was a time when Microsoft was first coming out with Windows, or when Microsoft saw Windows first becoming successful, that people thought, you know, the only people that can sell software for this platform is Microsoft? You know, do you think that ever? I mean, I'm just curious. I don't remember, but I wonder if there was ever that time. And I think it's interesting that today we sort of assume that because Google makes Android, even though it's an open platform, that somehow they can only be, they're the only ones who can do this. You know, they did create the platform, but the platform is out there. I mean, I think it's the biggest problem with Android in many ways for the first couple of years was that store they had. It was terrible.
Right.
And
They've
just
cleaned it up. Yeah, it's actually much nicer.
Yeah, they're doing it now. So the Apple stuff is better, you know, and then they have the full digital media stuff, you know, and Google is certainly getting into that as well, as they should. But if you want music and TV shows and movies, if you want to be able to rent movies on Android, Amazon will have it. It's all there. It's all in place. And it's not starting up. You know, Microsoft kind of has it too in the Zune marketplace, but you know, they started from scratch. Amazon, rather, has been doing this for years, so that when this Android device happens, it's not going to be sitting out there by itself like you see is happening today with the HP touchpad or the RIM Playbook or most of those other Android devices that just have zero support beyond a few basic apps. You know, Amazon has the ability to really drive this thing forward.
They can do the
stuff.
Ecosystem. They can do the Apple ecosystem.
Yep.
And there are two interesting Microsoft points to make about this too. One is, remember, Amazon signed a patent agreement with Microsoft covering Android. So they're covered. They're not going to get sued. It's not going to be like what's happening with some of the phones, right?
Right.
The other thing is, remember who went to work at Amazon who used to work on Windows?
Yes, I do. Brian Valentine.
Who?
No. Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, and Brian Valentine too. But Mike Nash is at Amazon, who used to be a big deal in the Windows organization, which is kind of interesting. And I keep hearing rumors he was involved in these tablets.
Which makes sense because Mike Nash is working on the Kindle. That was his original.
Very interesting.
To be there. Yep.
Mary Jo, I want to let you go. You got a cab to catch. Mary Jo Foley is the blogger at ZDNet who covers Microsoft better than anybody. All About Microsoft is the place to go, allaboutmicrosoft.com, to see all of her information. I mean, this is actually nice that they did this for you because it's all one page with everything. Mary Jo writes her Facebook activity, too, her blog roll. Allaboutmicrosoft.com. Always a pleasure. Thank you for joining me. Safe travels.
Yep. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah,
Stay
thanks
away
very much for coming.
From the 405.
I will, indeed.
I think it's safe today.
Yeah, I think the shutdown occurs tomorrow night. Isn't it tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
All right, Mary.
All right.
Jo.
Bye.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye. Good travels.
And
Thanks.
we're going to take a break and come back with your tips, Paul Thurrott, and your app picks. But first, let's talk about Netflix. We talked a little bit about it on the air. Netflix, as you well know, is a great place to go for movies. And, yeah, they raised the price, but I think $7.99 for all-you-can-eat streaming, to me, I think this is kind of the cord cutter's perfect solution. I don't want to make I think probably most of you are Netflix customers, and now you've got to decide. You're going to say, well, am I going to keep the DVDs or keep the streaming or keep both? I don't know what I would do, but my suspicion is if it were just, if I would say I'd pick the streaming. $7.99 a month. That's less than one movie ticket. And look at all the movies you can get here. What I really like is some of them are obscure. This is the movie section, music section. I started watching music documentaries, and I've been having so much fun. They have a ton of documentaries on here. And it's been so much fun looking at all of those. independent movies that you don't see in the movie theater often show up here. A lot of international movies, TV shows too. I'm going through the Battlestar Galacticas, and there's just if I ordered the discs, I'd feel like, well, you got to watch it tonight. I can do it at my leisure, really, which I really like. There are all four seasons of BSG, the new BSG, on here, and I'm just watching them when I'm in the mood. I watch them, and I love that. I think that's great. How many episodes is that? Let me see. Does it say here? I'm up to episode 9 of season 1. 15 episodes from 2003. 20 episodes from 2005. 19. All of this just you say, oh, for instance, you get the DVD, you're gonna have to watch a whole. I want to see Sine Qua Non. I love that episode when President Rosalind was abducted by the Cylon. I love that. So you can watch that. See, this is what I love about it. Netflix streaming is really, for people like me who have basically no impulse control and no patience, watch it when you want it. On your iPad, your iPhone, your Windows or Mac, your Xbox 360, your PlayStation 3, your Nintendo Wii, many TVs, most of the new Blu-ray players. It's just the creme de la creme. If you haven't tried it yet, try it free at netflix.com/twit. Since I know most of you have, may I also suggest that you tell your friends about this, because we'll benefit if they use the URL netflix.com/twit, and so will they. 30 days free. Netflix, netflix.com/twit. We really thank them for their support. And I think there may be some conception that we would temper our remarks because they're an advertiser. No way. We believe me, nobody pays Paul or me enough money to change how we feel about something. That's just not what
I use Netflix and like it and recommend it. And yes, I wish it was not more expensive than it used to be. But I looked at that and said, okay, but I still need to get this. So.
It's still a great deal.
Yeah.
All right, Windows Weekly tip of the week from Mr. Paul Thurrott.
So I mentioned Intune 2 earlier, and the little tip here is that you could sign up for the beta right now, and then you can use it for free on up to 10 PCs through the end of the year, basically, until the final version is released plus 30 days. You can use it for absolutely free. And the reason I recommend that is that it's basically a superset of what you get with Microsoft Security Essentials, but it also allows you to manage a bunch of different computers. So if you're like a lot of us, where you're basically managing the computers for everyone in your house, this is a great way to do that, and you can do it all from a centralized location. So the problem with Intune, from the perspective of a family or an individual, is that it doesn't really have that kind of Office 365 low-end price. You can get Office 365 for $6 per month per PC, which I think is reasonable. Unfortunately, Intune starts at $11 per month per PC, which I think is unreasonable. I wish that for $11 you could get both, Intune plus 365.
But they're not aiming at home users, so that would be
No, of course not. But I think that this is something IT pros in particular, people who, again, manage computers for multiple people, would really find value in. But why not use it for free for the next 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it may be? You can do that. So go grab Windows Intune 2 now for free during the beta. It works great. It has a bunch of new functionality. You can test it out for the next several months for free. Why not do that?
Why not? Our Windows.
Why not?
Why the heck not? Our Windows 7 app pick of the week.
Yeah, this is going to surprise some people because I really don't like Outlook, but I have been using it lately because I'm in the middle of my own migration away from Gmail and towards some Microsoft-oriented email solutions. So I've been testing different things and using different Exchange accounts, and obviously Outlook is an interesting client for that. There is a feature of Office 2010 called Social Connector. And the downloadable bit of this is it works with providers like Facebook, LinkedIn, Windows Live Messenger, and something called Viadio.
Viadio, I love that.
Yeah.
Does that mean go with God?
Yeah,
it's via con Dios.
Yeah, via con Dios. So I'm not familiar with that particular service, but I do use Facebook and I do use Windows Live Messenger. And the thing that's neat about it, let me see if I can find an email from someone I know. So when you click on an email from someone who's in your contact list, when it's from one of those places, the Social Connector provides you with information about that person that comes to you from those networks. And it's really kind of unbelievable. So I have here a history of our communications. Let me just click on each one of these, see what it says. I have all of her news feed updates and RSS updates from Facebook and elsewhere. The emails we've exchanged, the attachments that she sent me via email, the meetings that we have together, and the instant message conversations we've had, the status updates that she has submitted to different services and so forth. So there are also, this particular email I'm looking at is an email to me and my wife and this person's husband, and so all of those people have their own little boxes up there, and you can click on each of those and then get all that information about all the other people as well. So it's sort of, if you think about Outlook as the center of your life, which I think a lot of people do, it allows you to get much more information from people that you're connected with, all again in that same location, and I think that's what's really valuable about it. So it's one of those things that's kind of in Outlook. I think a lot of people don't realize it's there. I have a link to more information, and from there you can go and find the different downloads. So if you want to connect to Facebook, for example, you have to download a little plugin, and then it works with Facebook. And again, I'm sort of anti-Outlook, but I understand that a lot of people use it. And if you are using it, and you want to use this horrible, antiquated tool to link into new things, this is a great way to do it. So the social connector is actually pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Our Windows Phone 7 app pick. We've had some big names in the last few weeks.
Yeah, so we don't. So we have
don't
two,
get your hopes up.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up. No, actually, one of them is big. So there's a new game called Beards and Beaks. This one's interesting because it's an actual Microsoft game, and the reason I point that out is that a lot of the games that are published by Microsoft Game Studios are actually made by other people outside of Microsoft. Yeah. So if you go and you look in the Zune software, it will say Microsoft Game Studios, but that doesn't mean that's who made it. So, for example, I wouldn't be surprised to discover that Angry Birds is listed as Microsoft Game Studios, even though we know Rovio made that game. Right. This is a fun little game, Garden Gnomes, basically. It looks a little bit like that Fable Coin Golf, although it doesn't actually play like it at all. And it's pretty inexpensive, so it's $2.99. But right before we started well, I guess it was earlier today I found out about this. The official New York Times app is also available now for Windows Phone 7. This is nicely done. It uses the Windows Phone interface, which you would expect. The one caveat, and I see a lot of people are already complaining about this, is that the New York Times has moved to a pay model, of course.
If you subscribe, though, you can sign in, right?
Yeah, so if you are on any plan where you're giving them money, no matter what it is, you'll get this. I believe you'll get this on any.
That's what I did, and it's great.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, you're going to get dinged a little bit. You get
you get the top news, and then you get the headlines for the other stuff, and it's not the complete experience. And I think a lot of people were saying, I wanted the whole thing. Well, yeah, if you want the whole thing, you have to pay for it. I mean, that's how it works everywhere. If you want the New York Times app on the iPad, you have to pay for it. That's the way it works. But if you are paying for it, and there are different ways to do it.
The app is free.
The app is free. You pay for the content. Right, exactly. You just log into your account, and depending on the type of account you have, it will grant you the access. So I do have a subscription. We actually subscribe to the Sunday Times in paper form for some reason, and I read the New York Times on the Kindle, and we get access to all the electronic content. So that means the web, it means the Adobe Air app they have, it means the iPad app, and it means the mobile apps, including now Windows Phone. So if you are a subscriber and you want to access it on the go, this is obviously the right way to do it, and it's available now.
Very good. Paul Thurrott is the editor-in-chief of the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com. You'll find him there, and also on Windows IT Pro. He's an analyst for Penton Media, the author of Windows Phone Secrets. Soon, Windows 8. Well, not soon. Next year.
It might be. Well, it might be sooner than you think.
Sooner than we think. Maybe next year we get the Windows 7, 8 Secrets. If they keep using the word Windows, we don't know. Could be Zune 8 Secrets.
Wow.
No.
I wish I lived in a world where such a book would be viable, Leo.
And he's a hell of a nice guy. Thank you for joining us, Paul. Enjoy your week in Washington, D.C.
Thank you.
The nation's capital, the center of power for the free world. You can just feel it vibrating, can't you?
This is a beautiful city.
It is. I really love D.C.
It's unlike anywhere
Yeah.
I don't know what to compare it to. It's European in some ways, but it's got its own little vibe. You know?
Right. No, it's European because of the layout, but also it's just cool. It's really, I love DC. Yeah.
Everything's free here, too, which is cool. You can walk into with the best museums in the world, and they're all free.
Well, it's free, except, we paid for it.
You could be from another country and walk in, it would be free. So
yeah, those are the people who it's free for.
I realize the magic is not generated out of thin air, but it's neat.
No, it is great. It's a wonderful showcase, and I really I envy you.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for joining us, Paul. We'll see you next week. We do this show every Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv. Don't forget, though, you can catch the show later, audio and video. And by the way, in 2 weeks, we'll start with our high-def video downloads at no additional charge.
Oh, my goodness. Do I need a new camera for that?
You need makeup, dude.
Yikes.
No, you don't need anything.
I'll just put a bag over my head.
But and I'll fill you in on this later, Paul, but we will not be using Skype anymore. We'll be using video. We have the new video cast, which I'm really excited, which will give you, believe it or not.
It's the Microsoft thing, isn't it? That's what this is about.
No, it's going to be a high-def, but with a high-def camera, like your Microsoft Live Cam. Mm-hmm. You will be high-def all of a sudden, which is pretty exciting. We're very...
you think it's exciting.
Is that a blemish? What is that?
Right. Are you Chewbacca?
You could have shaved, for crying out loud. We invite you to tune in that special day, July 24th, our first broadcast from the new TWiT Brick House. TWiT, that Sunday, will be our first show with live in-studio John C. Dvorak, Kevin Rose, Patrick Norton, and Steve Gibson. If you could fly out, you could be there too, Paul. And it's not too late to buy a brick. We are, but it's close to. We've got the Wall of Honor in the door in the lobby there. As you go in, right to the left, people are going to have their bricks there with your name, two lines of 15 characters. It could be your website, could be your Twitter handle. We also have logo bricks for sale for a slightly higher fee. So if you go to bricks.twit.tv, you can find out how to support the Brick TWiT House or the TWiT Brick House, depending on how you feel about profanity. Yes, I'm still selling the bricks. If you knew, if you only knew.
Really what you're buying are foundational pieces of a very important wall.
If it weren't for that wall, the whole thing would fall down. And I mean that figuratively. Paul, thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
On Windows Weekly.